Okay, so today on this week's episode, we have Cheryl Stanley with us, otherwise known as Boat Mama. She was with Christian when he was out on the boat on his 30-day hitches, and she knew him very well. They were very close and had a close relationship. Cheryl, do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about your relationship with Christian?
Christian was, how do I want to explain Christian? He was a happy-go-lucky young man. Everybody has their moments in life, so nobody.
Yeah.
Uh, he loved his job. Uh, when they go by, he's cracking jokes or picking on me or picking on somebody. uh, he was just a fun guy to be around.
And now, did you work with him the whole time he was on the boat? Like from the beginning of his employment till
I came on that boat a couple months later from another boat after he
okay.
got.
So
So
pretty much
rode with him the whole 2 years.
wow.
So you
In
know him
30
pretty
days at
good.
a time.
He
Yeah.
wrote 30 on and 15 off.
So you're spending more than half of your year with these people on the boat.
Right. That's home away from home.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost home.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So when you were with Christian for those, those 30 days at a time, and one thing that everybody that we've talked to so far has said about Christian is that he was happy go lucky. Um but also that everybody has
Has
situations
their
that
moment.
arise. You have bad days, you have good days. That's part of being human.
That's
But
right.
when you are a happy-go-lucky person, that shines through, regardless of if it's a bad day, right? I mean, people don't drop their demeanor just because they're having a bad day.
Exactly.
And so, like, you, you spend 30 days with someone and or 30 days at a time with someone, you get to know them pretty well. There's no, especially in close quarters like a boat, you know.
Yep.
Um,
Real
so you,
close.
yeah. So and it's so endearing to me that he referred to you as Boat Mama. I'm sure they all do. It's just it's endearing, but at the same time, like it's almost like comforting. When I first listened to Culpable and I heard that you referred to as Boat Mama, it was like a comfort for me even, and I didn't know him, but a comfort knowing that there was somebody that was his mom on the
I
boat.
had to talk to. Uh,
That's
you
how
know,
we've always referred to you too, as Boat Mama.
I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah.
Hey, I earned that title.
Well, and
Uh,
so
yeah,
you
bunch
would have.
of guys.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Not a problem. Yeah, they're a bunch of great guys to work with 95% of the time. I can't say too much bad about them.
Yeah, it's rough working with guys too, especially
Yeah, the
when
only
you're the
woman
only.
on the boat.
Yeah, yep. You're like, did you put that toilet seat down? um. So I mean, you've explained them before on other podcasts and on other shows. Let's just get this out of the way. Let's just touch on this. 30 days on a boat, 15 off. He'd come back, you'd come back to work. You were at the beginning of his relationship with Whitley and you were at the end. You were there for all of that.
Pretty much.
Was he a depressed person?
No,
Could he have hidden if he was a depressed person?
no.
Yeah. Okay, I never thought so, but I've never asked it either. So,
I could always tell when he had something bothering him, just like my own child. And I'd always wait till he come to me because you know how boys are. They don't want nobody prying into their business.
right. Yeah.
Well, if you come to me, that's different. Then I'm gonna pry into your business. But as with he was happy with Whitley at first when they first started dating, even though she was younger than him. He liked the way, uh, they like to party together. They like to do different things together. And then he learned the situation she was in, and he told me that she kind of reminded her of him at that age, and he didn't have nobody to talk to or to look up to really, and he was more wanting to be her. How I want to say it. Uh,
Her hero.
yeah,
Savior.
because her mama had kicked her out a couple weeks after they started dating. He'd already been buying, but she went to live with her grandma, and he ended up buying her medication, her school supplies, her wardrobe, her makeup, anything that a girl would need or she needed. He tried to see to it that she got it because he didn't want her to feel like didn't nobody care.
Mm-hmm.
And then as time went on, he, he I wouldn't say so much was in love with her, but he loved her as a friend. But after things started spiraling, they started arguing. She started going out on him. Uh, I don't know if it's some stuff I don't need to mention or not, but things just got out of hand, and he had had enough.
So
He
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 confided in you.
yes, he went and bought a BMW where she'd have a way to drive back and forth to school, and she was wanting to be a hairdresser, if my memory serves me right. So he wanted her to finish school and get into that if that's what she wanted. So she'd have a way of making a living on her own, that she wouldn't have to be dependent on somebody else. And I was pretty proud of him for thinking that. But as far as being in love with somebody, Christian was not in love with her. I'm sorry, but he wasn't. He was still in love with Avery, point
That's
blank.
yeah. And they and when we say they, we refer to the people that are insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But they always revert back to they were in love. You can see it in the text messages, and words are words. You can
Hmm.
type whatever you want with your two thumbs. Doesn't
Right.
mean anything. I mean, you
You
know,
can stick that up there anytime for
exactly.
anything.
Yeah, exactly. It means nothing. A conversation between somebody that he confided in and himself means more than any text message and any phone extraction on any report in that case file.
Well, the night that he got on, him and Bear had gotten in a wrestling match, and I took pictures, and I, I sent them to Ray not long ago, and I've got a couple pictures where he was clowning. He took my ponytail holders and he had they had a bet going about who could let their hair grow out the longest. And if I remember right, Bobby was a part of that, and so was Zach, and it was funny. He had put his hair up in ponytails and was making stupid smirks and grins, and I was lucky enough to get snapshots of that.
I think I've seen those pictures too.
Yeah.
You probably have. And the night that he was supposed to come back, Bear was going give him a haircut. He'd done had enough of the long hair.
That's one thing. That's one thing that actually I just saw it yesterday because I was looking through the case file and what he had in his pockets because somebody in the group had asked about his wallet, and so I went back to go look, and he had hair ties in his pocket, and I was like, okay. I mean, his hair was long, but it's just very weird for me to see a male with hair ties in their pocket. It made me laugh.
Now you know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that everybody always wonders in regards to all of this is the night before. And we know that you talked to him and that he lied to you.
Yep.
Um,
Well, he tried to lie to me.
yeah, tried to lie to you. That's where I was going. So you knew he was lying to you, and you called him on it, and you told him, "Don't lie to me." Um,
I was born at night, but it wasn't last night.
you know what?
I said, you have been talking to me for the last couple of days about the phone calls you've been getting and what's been going on. So you ain't got to stand there and lie to me. I said, you can lie to the captain if you want to, and I know why you're lying. It's because you don't want to lose your job, because you know they're not going to let you off to go do what you're fixing to do.
Actually, let's back up to the day that he got on the boat and go from there about how things kind of went.
Well, when he got on the boat, that's been 7 years, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
When he got on the boat, he was in a good mood. That night, he was in a good mood. The next day, he was in a good mood. And of course, he'd been trying to call Whitley. And she wasn't answering. She supposed to went to a Mardi Gras with her family that night, the next night, I believe it was. And she wouldn't answer his calls for a long time there. And then somebody kept calling him, and he would never tell me who it was, but he kept getting calls. And I want to say it because I overheard him say Dylan. So they was telling him that she was running the roads. She done went and got the BMW because I understood he had already kicked her out of the apartment before he left. And the car was supposed to have been in the shop. But apparently she had a key and had got the car. So he told me that night that he was thinking seriously about getting off the boat and going and making her get out of the apartment and go back to her grandma's, that he had had enough. That he was tired of people calling him, telling him that she was running around on him and doing this and that and cutting her phone off because he had a tracker on her. And when he first started having the tracker on her, she apparently didn't know about it, but later on found out about it. So they ended up putting the tracker on one another.
And when you talk about a tracker, that's just the Life 360 or whatever through the phone, right? Because they're on the same plan. Okay.
Right.
So we haven't released this in the group, and this isn't the only person we've talked to outside of you now is the other people that Ray and some other people that we've podcasted with. We pulled apart Christian's HTC extraction, and there's about from the 21st of February to the 25th of, nope, sorry, got to correct myself there. The 21st of February to the 24th of February,
Mhm.
there's some very odd behavior from Christian in the extraction that he hadn't done previously, because we know he hadn't, because it goes pretty far back.
Mhm.
The 21st, he starts Googling Dylan Swearingen, and he also starts searching for somebody that had been arrested. He was searching the Meridian Star law enforcement report obsessively, looking for February 7th, February 14th, the 16th, the 22nd, the 20th, like all of these random dates.
Mhm.
So something happened. Something happened that made him Google Dylan and look
Right.
for arrests. And so that's why Susan's asking to go back to the 21st when he got on the boat, because
Okay, the 21st, he didn't get on the boat till on the 22nd.
22nd.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he obviously had started looking these things up while he was still at home. And then he cuts his phone off. Well, scratch that. The 22nd, he gets on the boat, things happen. He gets text messages from Ray, and they have that conversation that was uncomfortable. And he's annoyed, and he stops responding to Whitley. And she even says to him, "Why are you ignoring me? Why aren't you answering me? Blah, 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 blah." The next day, he comes back and says, "I was annoyed with the world. I stuck my phone in a filing cabinet and I didn't touch it." Well, that's not the truth, because he was using it. And he was searching Zach Tab, he was searching Dylan, he was searching Matt, he was searching Jet.
Well, see,
Uh
those names he did bring up, but I don't remember the exact conversation we had about him, but it wasn't good.
right. And another thing that he was doing was he was logging into their AT&T call history and text history, and he was searching things, and then he would text Whitley and say, "Whose phone number is this?" And then he'd go back into AT&T, and then he'd text her another one, "Whose number is this?" So something made him aware of something. We just
Mhm.
can't figure out what. And it's
Well,
frustrating.
he knew that she was fooling around, but he didn't know exactly who is. He knew of Matt and a couple of more, but he couldn't prove it.
Okay. And you said that Dylan was calling him. Now, there's nothing in the report that shows that.
Hmm.
But or no, you said he said Dylan's name. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Right.
put words in your mouth. There's nothing in the report that stands out as somebody oddly calling him, but he did have an app on his phone called Go SMS, and it
Mhm.
looks like a outside like third party app that you could use for text messages and phone calls. So we're wondering if whoever was contacting him was using that. Um, there was no other way for people to contact him, right? Like they couldn't call a boat phone.
No, no, that's against regulations.
Okay, so it had to have been his HTC or his iPhone.
Mhm.
He left us this breadcrumb trail, and we're constantly pulling it apart, and we're digging deep deeper than other people have, and we've
Right,
got this timeline now. There's just a piece missing that made him get off the boat,
right.
and we're trying to fill that piece in, and it's so frustrating. Susan and
Well,
I are always like, "What? Show us what you want us to see, Christian. Like, come on."
I think she just kind of answered it for us because she said that he knew she was cheating but couldn't nail down who it was. And I think he wanted to get off that boat to catch her in the act and then find out who
Possible.
it was.
And she was doing, I'm sure y'all know that she was doing stuff that she didn't, other stuff that she didn't have no business, and she was trying to talk him into putting in some money, and he refused to do it.
Okay, so we've heard that. There's nothing in the report that proves that, but that doesn't mean anything because you can't prove a phone call.
Right.
You can't prove the words that are said in a phone call. But the, okay, so maybe we should just go into this. Have you heard of a man named Tony McLean, Tony Inc?
Ray had asked me about that. I remember him talking about going and getting a. She's supposed to went and got a tattoo. Other than that,
So no.
he made the comment that he's bad news and that he really wish he wouldn't go there when there's already a tattoo artist there where they live.
Because he's one of the numbers that he pulled from the AT&T report, and then he texted her and said, "Who is this? Don't lie to me." And he already knew who it was.
Yeah.
So that's one of the people that were like, "Ugh, this guy, like there's just something." And we can see their conversation that Tony and Dylan had. Not Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh. Tony and Christian had. We can see that conversation. Yeah. So, and Bobby gets brought up there. He says something about, "Do you know Bobby?"
No, he actually
And
said, "Do you know
so
Barry?" But what Tony said
Barry.
once Tony figured out it was Christian, he said, "Oh, Whitley called me to call Bobby and tell Bobby to
That's
tell
right.
you to call her because she couldn't get a hold of you." That was Tony's story on why he was
Right.
like who he
Hanging out with
was.
Whitley. Yeah.
Was that the night that Bobby was using Christian's phone because it
Um,
was messed up?
I didn't know that Bobby was using his phone. Did you?
Or is it another Bobby we're talking
I
about?
wasn't Christian using Bobby's phone?
I think so. I think that was Christian using
Oh
Bobby's
wait,
phone.
no, wait. I'm sorry. Someone did use the phone because they texted their girlfriend or called a girlfriend or
That was
something
Bobby.
like that. And yeah, I do remember seeing something about that.
Yeah.
Another question that we get asked, and that I just want to clarify for everybody. What is the reason why people aren't allowed off the boat? Like, obviously, there's been speculation that he was being fired and he was on drugs and partying, and but there's got to be a reason why
We are
he
not
wasn't.
allowed off the boat for that very reason right there.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Because they're responsible for whoever's on that boat. If anything happens to someone, they're responsible.
So you
So
get off the boat.
the only time we ever was allowed to get off the boat was like if we was docked at the office uh, in Vicksburg or in Wood River, Illinois. They had company vehicles that we could use to go to Walmart to get what we needed and come straight back to the boat. We couldn't go nowhere else. And so we was really not allowed to be gone maybe an hour at the most.
So getting off the boat for him that day was
So
a big
just
deal.
getting off the boat just to be getting off the boat, no, that don't happen.
And another thing that we have a little bit of confusion on, that I've tried to research myself without asking anybody, and I think I'm pretty certain on this. It's when you're on a hitch, on a 30-day hitch, you're working in 6-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Got 6
Because
on, 6 off.
yeah, some people were like, that doesn't add up. Like, you can't make that work in a day. And I'm like, but you can. So,
It happens.
yeah. So when you were off for those 6 hours, you're sleeping or eating or just hanging out? Like,
Now, me as a cook, I work 12 and 12.
okay.
But the guys on deck and the ones in the wheelhouse worked 6 on, 6 off. They had when they're off on their 6 hours, they go get cleaned up, they come eat. Well, let me rephrase that. They come eat and then they go get cleaned up and ready for bed. So they more or less maybe get 4 hours of sleep out of each watch.
Hmm.
Okay, so that morning when he got off the boat and Dylan picked him up, we know it was around 8 o'clock in the morning. Was that the start of his 6 hours?
Okay, that night, Christian pulled 12-hour shift, or yeah, the 12-hour shift. So he could be off that day. uh, so the other boy would have enough rest so he could work till he was able to come back and swap watches with him.
And he had to be back by 5:30.
30.
5:30.
The watch change was at 5:30.
Okay.
Was he like at 8? Was he working or was he already done working and just waiting?
He was he was supposed to been done working at 7 o'clock, but he was still up.
Okay.
He
So
never
there's
went.
no reason he would have had his coveralls on and still been dirty.
He should have had time to go take a shower. No.
Um, did he eat breakfast that morning?
He come in there while I was cooking and ate a few pieces of bacon and I think a biscuit.
Hmm.
And that's when he was uh, trying to convince me about the story he was giving about Ray kicking his sister and his daddy out.
You I think even knowing them now, it would have been laughable.
Oh
Would have been
yeah.
like, okay.
Um, I know it's been 7 years, but do you by chance remember what color of sweatshirt and pants he was wearing
When he was working,
when he was getting off, like right before he got off? The last time you saw him.
the last time I saw him was at 3:30 in the morning.
Oh,
Okay.
He had left at 8 o'clock. He
Right.
had left
Okay.
out before I came back out to start lunch.
Okay.
But that
um,
morning that I had seen him, he had a red pullover shirt on and his work pants, which was the brown. Uh, what do you, what is the name brand of them pants?
like Carhartts.
Yeah, Carhartts. The thick kind because it was cold.
Yeah, imagine. I couldn't do your job. First of all, I would get sick. Second of all, it's too cold for me.
It's
uh,
actually nothing like most people think it is on the
I
river.
bet. I bet. I probably have it like you're out to sea deep sea fishing in my mind, and it's probably pretty calm.
It, yeah, that's the difference in it. You really don't even feel the boat moving.
Oh,
Hmm.
I could do that then, maybe. Minus the cold. So my mind, these answers that you're giving us, these questions that were thrown at you, they should have come from law enforcement.
Yeah,
And they never asked you one thing.
like I said, uh, Ray's lawyer. I can't remember her. I can't pronounce her name right, and ain't gonna try.
Yeah.
She contacted me, and then the investigator. What was his name? The
Mark.
slender. Who?
Mark.
No, I never
Oh,
talked about her.
earlier.
Yeah,
One of the earlier ones.
yeah. He drove to Louisiana to talk to me. He came to me, and we had a good conversation for about an hour about what had happened. The only other one was the the preacher that does stuff for the boats. Uh, sea Sea Chapel. I don't forgot what they call them, but he came and done a small memorial service with us.
Hmm.
And we ain't seen her talk to nobody. As a matter of fact, I think I'm the only one that was talking to, and maybe Zach Summerall.
Wow.
I just, yeah, mind blown there. Mind blown. I mean,
Well, you think they would want to know how he was acting before he got off that boat.
Yeah,
yep,
He
exactly.
was fine, other than he had his mind on whatever was going on, but he done his job. So if you was flipping the hell out, would you be able to do your job?
no.
Nope.
Thank you.
And when you're depressed, so badly depressed that you're going to commit suicide, you don't go to work.
Exactly.
Or make
And
future plans with your mom.
exactly.
Or
But
make future plans with your brother to pay the bills.
or any future plans to do anything.
Right.
But
And
where they came up with this that he was fired, he got thrown off the boat, he was the cops was after him. Where in the hell did all that come from?
Whitley, Whitley, she's
Don't
the one
even
that's
get me
telling
started
people
on
that.
her.
Well,
Don't
Dylan too.
Yeah.
them two I would like to ooh,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't understand people like that. That boy bent over backwards for them.
Yeah.
If they didn't if it wasn't for Christian, I don't know what the hell they would have done. Same thing to do it now, I guess. Bumming off everybody else. Because her mama
Yeah.
wouldn't have nothing to do with her, amount to nothing. And I do know that Christian had point blank told her that if she didn't quit fooling around on Houston, that he was going to go, because I think it was Houston, whoever it was his friend at the time. And
Yep.
they was fooling around one another. He said, I'm going to him and telling him.
Oh, he definitely did. There's a whole paragraph text in his text extraction that says straight to her, if you don't cut it out, I'm going straight to him.
Yep, it was wild.
And those are things that he would come back and tell you, of course, because I always tease with my husband. He works at he works with a bunch of people. I don't want to say where he works because people are
Right,
crazy.
right.
But um he comes home and he'll talk to me about stuff that's happened at work, and I'm like, you guys just love to gossip. Men always say women are the gossips. It's the men. The boys gossip more than girls. And so, of course Christian's going to come to you and tell you all the hot, juicy tea because he has to get it out, right? He's
right.
holding it all in and it's got to come out. He's got to tell someone. So, of course, it's going to be somebody that he trusts, that he spends all of his time with. And there's just no disputing that that's common for people to do. So,
Right.
of course, you're going to know about Whitley's aunt cheating on, Houston with Dylan. Dylan, of all people.
Oh God.
And,
I don't see why she would even want to go there.
ugh, I'm probably going to get sued for saying ill.
Well, that's why I'm kind of debating on what's coming out of my mouth or not.
Yeah, it's just mind blowing to me, the things that they come up with that they lie about and put out there as truth. And we have seen people defend. Susan and I have been doing these true crime groups for a very long time now, and there's always a small group of dissenters, is what we call them, that they just stick it in there and they dig it in over and over that this person cannot be guilty. The moon is hung by this person, and they just, there's no possible way. I mean, even some of the worst people that have committed heinous crimes, killing children and their wives, have people that defend them, right? So there's always going to be this small group. We get it. They're inconsequential. We don't care. they're stupid as all get out. Um, but when they say things and then you ask them to prove it and they say, because Dylan
Oh,
said so, because Whitley said so. Whitley told me that she didn't kill Christian. Dylan said he didn't kill Christian. Well, I'm sure
Okay.
Charles,
I
I'm sure,
couldn't tell you died and went to hell and came back yesterday. You gonna believe me?
yeah, I'm sure Charles Manson said he was innocent too.
Well, that morning, Christian was in a good mood when I talked to him at breakfast time. Because I get up every morning at, well, I still do, at 3 o'clock, and I start breakfast at 3:30. So between 3:30 and 4 o'clock, he'd come in there and was, because he had a few minutes from the barges, he'd come in to get a bite to eat real quick and something to drink. And he was giggling. He's got that giddy laugh and that big fat smile. And
That
he
almost
said, "Well,
makes me
what?"
cry.
He said, "What would you do if you was in my shoes? You'd do the same thing." I started around, looked, I said, "Son, I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. You forget who's been you been talking to for the last couple of days since you got on the boat, among other times." Well, you know what I'm talking about. I said, "Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You do
You
what
know,
you got to do."
that's the other thing is there's absolutely nothing out of the ordinary of his actions in regards to their relationship and what he was thinking. And I mean, it's almost in every relationship at that age
Right,
that where people are once cheating or doing drugs or whatever. This is the exact same. It's just different players.
right,
And so there was absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. The only thing out of the ordinary of this whole situation is that he's dead and
right.
it wasn't at his hands.
Because I had texted him and asked him, "Where are you at?
Yeah.
You on your way?"
We saw that.
Yeah, we saw that.
It's heartbreaking.
That was hard to see.
You
Uh,
know, you know how you get them eerie feelings. I had one, but I just want to pass it off. And then we got the phone call at 5 o'clock, and the captain called us all of us, to the wheelhouse. We knew something was wrong, but we wasn't expecting that.
wow.
5 p.m.
At 5 that evening,
So you guys knew 15 minutes.
5:30, we was called up to the wheelhouse.
Uh, that right there blows my mind. You knew right after the 911 call was made.
Hmm. Somebody had called the office and told them, and they called the boat.
It'd be interesting to know who called the office.
Yeah.
Cause I'm still floorboard sometimes.
Well, you I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know anybody that's killed themselves, that's followed through to kill themselves, but I
Will
do
I
know
ever
somebody.
believe that Christian would actually do that? No,
Okay.
never.
And that's just something you know. But they do say there are people that say things like, well, sometimes you just never know, which I
Yeah.
understand. But
Well,
having
even in some people that say they would never kill themselves, you can pretty much tell by the way they react around you and their lifestyle how it changes, even if it ain't but a little bit.
Yeah,
You
there's
know
always
something's
something.
up.
There's always something that you'll hindsight 2020 type
Yep.
thing
you'll
and you don't
go,
have that with him
Mhm.
because
even,
he didn't do it.
No
you
one will
can't, and
ever
you can't.
make me believe that he killed himself. Never.
Well, nobody has to because he didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know him, and I know he didn't.
Yeah, 100%. There's no way. He did not do that.
Well, all the guys that I have talked to that we all knew Christian, That is the number one thing we all agree on. He didn't do it. There's no way in hell he done it.
When you got told, did you feel it right away?
My heart dropped to the floor. And it was like something left me. I mean, I already felt, like I said, when I texted him, I knew something was wrong. You just get that weird feeling.
So when they said he committed suicide, did you say like hell he did?
Yep.
It was instant.
Even the captain said the same thing. He said, I don't believe this, but he felt so guilty about. I said, look, there's nothing you or me or anybody could have said or done to make him change his mind about what he was going to do.
Right.
I said, he done made up his mind. He was done with her, and he wanted to finish it and move
Right.
on.
There's
Enough is
definitely
enough.
there's definitely that breadcrumb trail in the phone extractions that he was done.
And I can't believe her mama would even get on national TV and say what she said.
I I can't either. Honestly, how do you know that you how do you know in your heart that you were not there for your own 17-year-old daughter enough that she didn't live with you? She was living with a 21-year-old boy playing house.
And was living with her grandma before that.
Right. And then you know that that was the situation and you go on national TV and pretend that you were mother of the year.
Hmm.
Shame on you. Shame on you. And I put this on our podcast. Chrissy, shame on you.
Absolutely.
All the way.
And her daughter is where she's at right now.
Because mama wasn't mama.
Exactly. But now she
Hmm.
wants to go on national TV with alligator crocodile tears pretending that she is so sad over we loved Christian too. I'm
How do
sure
you
you
love
did
someone?
because
How do you love someone and dog them like you're doing?
right.
Exactly.
You don't do that.
Right.
And
And
why? This is my main question. Why you want to wait 7 years to come open your mouth? But yet, when you got on 48 hours, you still said nothing.
right.
If you
Right.
didn't do it, you would have been fighting.
Right. And here's another thing that I've talked to Ray about myself, and um, I think I've even said it out in the groups, and I know Susan says it. If you're not guilty, hand over your phone records, take a polygraph test, sing it from the top of the mountain that you're not guilty. Instead, you chose to go on national TV and read a poem named Moist.
And it was
And
all
Dylan,
about her.
yep,
Hmm.
and Dylan didn't say a word. Mommy did.
So what's the deal there? They're supposed to be grown ups.
Yeah. Oh, they're just kids.
They're just kids.
God.
They're not kids. You're 20 something years old now.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I mean Dylan's close to 30, right?
Yep.
I don't, I don't pretend that life is easy for anybody, and life's not easy for a drug addict. But at what point do you stop enabling and start the tough love?
Mm. You start tough love when they young.
Yeah,
Hmm.
You
and that's the
can't wait
problem. They
till they're
never,
grown.
yeah, they never had control.
Mm. They don't know how to react to it,
Right.
except anger wise.
Well, and I have to admit that Susan and I go back and forth on this often, and I always say I don't know what I would do in their shoes because I've never been in their shoes. And if my child was capable of doing something like this, would I defend one of them? Probably. Who wants to think the worst about your kid? You don't.
Nobody does.
Right. But I don't think that I would be sitting in Facebook groups saying horrible things about the mom or the sister or the dad of the person that's no longer here. I definitely wouldn't be bashing the person that's no longer here.
And why would
Uh,
you pull their sisters and brothers around and harass them?
yeah,
Yeah. The only people that do that are guilty people.
Exactly.
right. And that's why, we say it all the time in our group that, that Shakespearean saying, doth does protest too much. Well, when
Oh,
you're the loudest one in the room.
I don't hardly, as y'all know, make comments on there. When I do, I
Right.
got angry.
I know. I saw yours last night and I'm like, uh-oh, we're in trouble.
You
It's
talk about
just so
what I
hard.
told you to calm
Especially when,
down.
yeah. Calm down, ladies. I can't help it. She's so stupid.
It was
I
my
mean,
turn to say something.
I remember reading that and I was like, "Oop, I'm running out of the room." Yeah. So, I mean, there
Well,
was
it's like them going to Dylan going to the bank. Well, they drove right by that son of a bitch. Why? Oh, I'm sorry. They
no, don't
drove
apologize.
right by there. Why the hell didn't they stop then? If he was
Yeah,
gonna give them all the money.
right.
And
And
why, when Dylan couldn't get the money and he texted back or called, why was it just, oh, go get food, and not Christian saying, well, come get me and I'll come down there and get the money?
yeah,
It was
or
just
let me
like,
talk to somebody. Well, the phone call, even if he would have said that, they wouldn't have done it over the phone. Christian would have had to been present.
right. Well, interesting enough, while Dylan was in the bank, he did have somebody on his phone for 9 minutes. So during that time that he was inside the bank, he had one of his friends on his phone. So I'm always curious to see if maybe they did try that.
Either who was the guy that was at the bank that they was talking to, that Dylan was talking to all the time?
That's the
He
person
should
he had on the phone.
well, he of all people should have known better than that.
Yeah.
So what part does he play in it?
Yeah. Well, he talks to him a lot during the
Hmm.
3 days of phone records that we have of Dylan's in the case file. So
Well, like
I'm,
I said,
I'm curious too.
what does he got to do with it?
Hmm.
What part is he playing in this?
Yeah.
So you said that Christian did mention Jet, Matt, Zach to you.
He, I I remember him saying those names and talking about them, but I don't remember the exact conversation we had right now.
Well, just the matter that he brought those three up is mind blowing to me because apparently, allegedly, according to Whitley, gun night happened the night before. According to Jet, he didn't know Whitley. According to Zach, he had nothing to do with anything.
Yes, they
Um,
all knew one another.
right.
They
Yeah.
might not have hung out together, but they knew one another.
Right. And according to Christian's phone records, he was searching them
Mm.
before, like in between the 22nd and the 24th.
I
I'm
can't
not.
remember if it was Matt or if it was Jet, because the reason that Christian had to come to work out on the boat was because he had got into a little trouble for vandalizing either Matt or Jet's vehicle.
It
Matt's.
was Matt. Yeah.
And he had to pay for it.
Yeah. He texts Whitley and says, and he hadn't been speaking to Whitley prior to this, but he texts Whitley and says, something tells me you want us to end. It's very bizarre.
Mm.
And when I say bizarre, it's because his actions prior to this, where he wasn't talking to her, he was angry with her because he could
He
tell what
saw
she was
something.
doing.
He
Yeah.
saw something.
And so
Yeah.
and then that's when he goes, 12:15 a.m. on the 24th. Something tells me you want us to end. Then he logs into AT&T and he starts searching their records, and that's when he starts the whole texts a number and asks who it is. He does that a few times, and then he goes into Regions Bank, which he had never
That's
done before.
bank.
So it was almost like he was wanting to switch his money over because he had searched Muna Federal Credit Union and searched routing number and account number, like how to pull money out of his bank account. So it was almost like he was trying to put money from one account into a new account. And why would you do that if you're going to kill yourself?
That's a possibility. He's probably going to do that because, like, when we would get off up north or down south, mainly up north, there was a lot of Regency banks, and it wasn't no credit union, and it was easier. It would be easier for him to have a account with Regency.
Instead of
Oh,
Muna, because it was a credit union.
right.
Okay. And so then he goes back into this is all on the 24th, mind you. You can tell when he has his 6 hours that he's working because he's not touching his phone.
Right.
So then he goes back into logging into AT&T almost obsessively, and then he Googles Dylan. So then he goes, obviously he goes back to work or sleep maybe, and around 4 p.m. on the 24th is when he starts looking up Zach Tab. Zach Tab was okay, tell me this isn't weird. Zach Tab is the first one he looks for, and then
Okay.
he makes a Twitter account himself. He didn't have Twitter, but he created a Twitter account. He named it Truth Burns, and he went and he searched Jet and then Matt, and then he made one tweet from that account, and it was to Matt Miller, and it said, "Why don't you get a job?" or something like that. And then right after that, he logs into Google and asks, "How do I disconnect Twitter from my phone?"
He didn't have nothing to do with any internet.
Right, and you can see that. But he goes from Zach to Jet to Matt on the 24th, when supposedly gun night was the 25th, late on the 25th. No, lies.
On the 24th. Because it happened on the 25th that he got killed.
He was killed on the 26th.
26th,
I mean,
yeah.
on the 26th, yeah.
So gun night never happened. They were hanging out on the 24th. Whitley was with them. I mean, she had to be. There's no other reason why he's searching the 4 people, Zach, Jet.
Main one that was on the scene.
Right. So I don't.
Well,
so
it's we talked about months ago.
I don't think that they knew that he actually tweeted, though.
I did, but I mean, actually, a couple of years ago when we first started this, it was one of the things. I think Kathy and I talked about it.
Oh, okay. It was when the case file first came out,
right?
But the fact that he did that, made that Twitter, and then went to Zach, Jet, and then Matt in that succession, in that order. It was Zach was at 4:40 p.m., Jet was at 5:06 p.m., and Matt Miller was at 5:39 p.m. on the 24th, 2 whole days before he went home. And then he goes back and logs into AT&T again. And that's how he was following her. We know that they had that tracker thing, but my personal opinion, and this is just an opinion, was that she turned her location services off on her phone so that he wouldn't know where she was.
That pissed him off.
Yeah. And so that's when he started to log into AT&T to see who she was texting and calling. And that was very, very, very smart on his part, because most men wouldn't think to be like that. They wouldn't say, "Can't find her through location services. I'm going to log into AT&T and check her call history."
Yeah.
And so
he would have fit right in with us.
He would have been
making the comment that about them 3 or 4 guys, that they was bad news, and she was hanging around.
And he had no reason to know that. At the very, 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 very most he could have known was that she was talking to Matt Miller, according to all of them. Because according to all of them, Jet didn't know her. Zach didn't know her.
They all knew one another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause
And there,
some,
I mean,
a couple of them hung out with Whitley before Christian even came out, even came in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
They
yeah,
went to the same parties, and at Dalewood, ain't that the name? Yeah, Dalewood and Lindale, somewhere in Lindale, and it was something else he had told me. But for a fact, them there you just mentioned, he he was angry and he said these guys are bad news, and I don't want no part of it.
the fact that he mentioned them means that he knew about
He knew
them.
what was going on.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So there's just some other questions. Let's see. Do you do you happen to know why Christian was using someone else's phone on the 25th instead of his own?
Depending on the timeline, if he was out on the barge working and he can't take his phone out on the barge. So if
Oh,
one of the other guys that got it walked out to check on him, see if he needed anything to drink, they probably had their phone on.
So it was kind of common to borrow others' phones, like here and there, to do something real quick. Okay.
and
Makes
we know
sense.
that Justin was contacted by Christian. I mean, they keep saying that he wasn't, that Justin's lying, that you're lying.
He did
Um,
talk because that was one of the conversations I overheard when he was coming to the deck locker. Uh, he come in there to get warmed up for a few minutes and had called Justin to see if he would be able to come and get him.
And he called from someone else's phone.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
I, yeah. I just, the lies are what, I think the lies are what irritate me the most because just be quiet. Just be
Mm.
quiet. If you don't think that Whitley and Dylan are guilty, if you think
Just
that
go
he
away.
committed suicide, just shut up.
Well,
Yeah.
people are not stopping and thinking about uh, exactly what went on, and they're not listening to people that knew what happened during that time. They want to hear what they want to hear.
Right.
And if you ain't got something positive to say and know it for a fact, say nothing at all. Don't stretch a lie.
Yeah.
Well, and why believe Whitley and Dylan? Why believe either one of them on anything? Because they knew him the shortest amount of time out of everybody.
Hmm.
Yet we're supposed to
And
believe everything that they
it's
say.
a lie after lie after lie after lie. And what's so sad, they're now getting on national TV and lying after lie and
Doubling
won't,
down.
yeah, and won't even, when they're asked about something about what happened, they shut it down.
Right. That's like yesterday, Dylan's mom came out and said that Dylan was at the funeral. And there have been multiple people that say he did come to the funeral and he was told to leave,
Yep.
including Alexa herself saying, I told him to leave. And Pam is now calling everybody else a liar except for Dylan. And she's saying, well, there was somebody with Dylan at the funeral. Well, it doesn't matter what you say. All these people aren't going to be wrong, and you're the
Exactly.
only right one.
When you got more than one person telling the same thing over and over and over,
Yeah.
how's it a lie?
The family has no reason to lie about telling Dylan to leave. They don't. If
Mm.
he was there and he attended the funeral, what's the harm in saying yes, he was there and he attended the funeral?
I mean, why would they want to lie about that? I mean,
That's not, yeah, it's inconsequential to the grand scheme of things. At that
yeah,
point, I mean, a funeral is what, a week or so later after somebody
is a week
passes away.
later.
So at that point, they may have not even thought that Dylan was guilty. I know that I know that they did, and that's why he was asked to leave.
Mm.
Um, but for any other situation, any other scenario, having Dylan at the funeral wouldn't be a big deal.
Right.
So why would they need to lie about that? They wouldn't. It just bothers me so much that you know people want to say that he killed himself and all these horrible terrible things about him. He was on steroids and he was an active drug user and all these he was abusive to Whitley and she was a kept woman. All of these things. He's not here to defend himself.
No.
You know, the steroids thing, that I think bothers me the most out of what they talk about with that, because steroids is nothing.
No.
And Whitley and Jet and Dylan are all doing meth and heroin and fentanyl and all this stuff, but they're freaking out. Oh my God, the kid did steroids. You know, like, come on.
It ain't
But we can
so
prove
much
that he did it.
Right.
exactly. A lot of these guys out there, they take them protein shakes
Hmm.
uh, or something like that to help them with their exercise, to help keep their muscles toned because it's a lot of heavy equipment they have to move around.
A shame
Like
on
with
him for having
bikes.
muscle.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We are talking about Whitley. Come on.
Whitley, who gets arrested for 2 DUIs within 6 weeks of one another, and tells the police officer that she had to take meth because she was coming down off of fentanyl. I
You're
mean,
kidding, right?
no, I'm not kidding. It's right in the police report.
Oh my God. That girl's got issues. She always has had issues.
Mhm.
And it still, I'm sorry, but it still goes back to her parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because her mama was worried about partying herself instead of worried about tending what needed to be tended to at home, which
Right.
was one of them was her daughter. And and to me, Whitley was crying out for help and wanting attention from her mama.
Yes. Yes.
And, and Kristen knew that, but it didn't work. But now that
Um,
she's on coming on national TV, she wants to. Oh, I was a great mom. I'm fantastic. I was always there. No, you wouldn't.
And she's
I'm not
forgetting about the text message that she sent Christian praising him for being everything for Whitley because she couldn't.
Yeah.
right.
Well, why couldn't you?
Well, no, she was saying that she couldn't do all the things that he was doing.
Well, she could have, if she wanted to, she at least could have tried.
Mm-hmm.
Just worrying about fooling around with somebody else. Oh, I'm gonna get hung. I gotta start watching what I say.
No, no. You're fine. We've said worse. Um, so I'm not of the camp that Whitley is the one that killed Christian, and I'm not of the camp that Dylan killed Christian, and I think Susan either. And my thing with Whitley is I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not going to pretend to be a psychiatrist, but I'm a human, and I've had life experience. I've had 43 years of life experience. I've had issues with my own family growing up as a child, and I know abandonment when I see it. And she was scared that Christian was going to break up with her because they had already discussed it before he went back out on the boat.
Yep.
And so she went straight to the next thing that she could find, and that was Matt. She approached Matt during Snapchat over a Snapchat message.
I still believe she set Matt up. He was gonna
Oh,
be the fall guy.
or the next person that she just moved in with.
Yep.
And so she, she's like, Christian's gonna leave me. I gotta go find someone else. And that person was Matt. And I think that,
Or the one that the tattoo guy.
yep, yeah. And so she's saying all these things to people about Christian and how horrible he is abusive and blah 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 blah. And when you build that up in someone, when you are telling people that are on drugs, my boyfriend beats me, he keeps me, he watches everything that I do, he is abusive to me, anything that she could have been saying to these guys
Yeah, to make him look like a bad guy.
to make Christian look like the bad
I
guy.
didn't know him.
Right.
Yeah, because
And
2 years there, Christian was on the boat, 30 on, 15 off. So you ain't got much time to be beating on somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but you're not your boyfriend isn't, and I'm saying this, I'm saying it. Your boyfriend isn't beating on you and verbally abusing you and beating you down, and then you're texting him saying sexual things. I'm not going to say what she would say, but they would be in a heated discussion. You could tell they were going back and forth about how she acts and how she behaves, and then she would say, "Want to see a naked picture of me?" or I'm touching myself.
Or to cut the conversation, get him off her butt.
Yep.
You're not going to say that to someone that's abusive to you. You're not gonna. And I don't care what anybody says. You're not going to do that.
If you're abusive by trying to get somebody to straighten their life out, you got a serious problem. You
Yeah.
don't know what abuse is.
And your abuser buying you a BMW and,
Clothes
you
and
know,
up and getting
Setting you
you
up in an apartment where nobody lives at it 30 days out of the month and getting you a dog and a washer and dryer and
and
money.
money.
and if he was abusive, he would have had a job at home. He wouldn't have had a job where he was gone for 30 days at a time because he wouldn't be able to control her.
Exactly.
from
You can't
from
control nobody from a boat.
you can't, darn it. I was hoping to get one of those boat jobs so that I could control my husband.
Well, good luck with that.
Dang it. My dreams are squashed.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
and also Matt had said that Whitley told Matt that Christian and her were broken up already,
Yep.
and he was seeing somebody else.
Yep.
So she was setting up for her next move, knowing, okay, I've kind of played
Setting up
this
the
out.
kill.
Yeah, she's played it out with Christian and knew that it was over and she was going to need to move on. And so Matt was her target to move on to. And so she, like Misty said, kind of said all this stuff about Christian to Matt and his friends, got them all worked up to be little heroes.
Yep.
And proof is in the pudding with the text messages between her and Matt on the 26th at 11 a.m. when she says, "He's coming home to kick me out. Come get me."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "No, I'm
Yeah.
not coming to get you."
Why, why would I want you?
Yeah.
I done got what I wanted from you.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't got no use for you.
So she knew that he was coming home at 11 a.m. on the 26th.
And why?
And why? She knew her car was gone. She knew her cash cow was gone. She knew her free ride was gone.
Our party house was over.
Her party
Mm-hmm.
house was done. And on top of that, and I've said this a million times on this podcast, I'm going to say it again. Her boyfriend, the love of her life, kills himself, and I'm saying kills himself in air quotes. And she goes to the police station to give a statement, and she still doesn't go home to her mother's house. She goes to a friend's house afterwards.
That's that just blew my mind. I mean, even the statements both of them give blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
The 911 call really blew my mind. I mean,
Oh,
how
you mean
much
that?
evidence do these people need?
Obviously, they need to be thumped upside the head with a bunch of it.
Mm. that DA needs to be booted on out down the road somewhere.
Well, it's definitely not incompetence. It's definitely
It's a cover up. It's like effective domino just triggered off when he got killed.
exactly. Because I mean, they purposely keep things out and they purposely twist things. And I'm sorry, but the first responders, in my opinion, looking at their narratives, that they believed that it was not a suicide, but then they were told, nope, nothing to see here, shut it down, and they didn't question anything. They just did what they were told instead of doing their jobs.
But that didn't make no sense to me whatsoever.
No.
Why wouldn't you go on and do your job when you know for a fact you're standing there looking at somebody that got murdered?
Well, because somebody up higher
Proves
than
like,
them
yeah,
scares them.
apparently. I mean, I know one or two that Ray was telling me about that worked out on the boat apparently have quit talking to anybody because they have been threatened. Well, they don't need to be come knocking on my door. 'Cause I'm not threatened too easy.
Yeah. Hmm.
Back, I mean, just blows my mind some of the stuff that's been brought out and said, and people don't stop and think about what's coming out of their mouth, and other people don't listen to what's being said to dis- distinguish between the truth and fiction,
Mm-hmm.
because there's too many out there adding to the story that don't have a clue or even knew who he was
Right.
or what kind of person he was. He was he loved life, loved life. He loved to party. He loved to travel. He loved the beach. He loved to camp. He loved to ride around. He liked to be around people, people that was fun. If he's down in the dumps, he's gonna do his best to try to cheer you up.
You know what's another thing that stands out to me is that usually you can find, okay, so take away Whitley, take away Dylan, take away Jet, take away all of their families, push them to the side. Usually in any case, you can still find a few people that will say bad things about someone, you know,
Right.
that knew him and were like, "Ooh, I didn't like him. He was a jerk to me in high school," or blah blah blah. There's no one that has
No
ever.
one.
I've in 2 years I've never seen one person enter a group and say, "Of course Christian killed himself. That's the type of guy he was," or "Of course Christian was mean to Whitley. That's the type of guy he was." No one. There has been no one. And you would think that if there was somebody out there that had a bad thought about Christian, they would have said so by now.
Well, if anybody had anything bad to say, if it was anything really technically bad, that would go back to his first girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
And she still to this day has never once said anything bad about him. But Christian knew that was the best thing for them for her to get where she's at now. And he had always hoped that they would end up back together. I know that for a fact.
It's
I
just
mean,
heartbreaking.
that kind of shows you right there too with how Christian was, is that he knew he had to let her go so she could be what she wanted to be.
Yeah.
And that shows that he's not a controlling person.
He was in he was a typical teen, should I say? uh, he knew to let her go because he didn't want to hurt her, and because you know how guys are at that age, they gonna roam around and look. And he didn't want to hurt her,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted her. She wanted to be a vet, and, and he had to work off, and they couldn't be together like they wanted to be anyway because he's 30 on, 15 off. I mean, that's not really a life for nobody. When
Oh,
you really, 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 really have that mind frame to work off like we do and have a family, you
Mm-hmm.
have to have somebody with that same mind frame at all times because you're going to miss a lot of holidays, you're going to miss weddings, you're going to miss anniversaries, you're going to miss a baby being born, and it hurts.
and
But you got
there's
to keep
something,
living.
yeah, there's something that really stands out to me in the text messages between him and Whitley, and that is, I think that so towards him going back out on the 22nd, so they had 15 days prior to that, and they went to the mountains for 7 days, I believe, and then they were home for 7 days.
Mhm.
And I think that's when he really started to realize that this isn't going to work.
Yeah,
And but at the same time, I think she already was there. Like she was already done with the relationship, but she couldn't cut it off because it was her livelihood. I
yeah.
mean, her place to live, her car, her
Everything.
money. Right. And so and you can see in the text messages, like, just their conversations with one another, that she was done with him before he was done with her, because he says something to her about, I'm home and I want to go do things, and you don't want to go.
Yep.
And I think that comes back to when you're 17 years old and you're in a relationship and you're done with that relationship. You're 17, and so you start to, like, distance yourself. You're not going to
Push
go to the
yourself
place.
in.
Yeah,
Nah,
you're
I don't
yeah,
feel like going.
right.
You
And
go
so
ahead.
I think that's where she was in the relationship, but she couldn't cut it off because she didn't have somebody else yet set in place to give her a place to live and a car and all that kind of thing. So my point with that is Christian needed somebody to be in a relationship with him that was okay with him being gone for 30 days, and then when he was home, do the things that he wanted to do while he was home. And
Yep.
she wasn't that. She wasn't that.
Nowhere
And
near that.
especially when he decided that, drugs and partying and all that kind of thing was not his life. That's not the life that he wanted. And he didn't want her having that life either. And he didn't want her hanging out with Dylan. That's clear in the text messages. And she wasn't going to do that. She wasn't willing to do that for him. She wasn't going to give up drugs. She even says, "I'm a liar. I'll always be a liar."
Live a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she,
He, I don't know why Dylan even made the comment that he was Christian's best friend. Christian didn't even like him. Christian did not trust him.
well, from
Well,
your mouth to God's ear.
and Christian's phone records show that they weren't best friends because
Yeah.
they never talked to each other until that night.
Exactly. Because I heard him make the comment that to her a couple times uh, when I walked through, he'd be having a conversation with her. He says, he ain't got no business being there around you. He needs to leave.
Oh.
And this was
I'm only
before he even got the apartment.
oh, I'm only laughing because the stories that get spun are Whitley and Dylan didn't hang out with each other without Christian, and
All the time. That was
yeah.
the problem.
Well,
You cover my
birds.
back, I cover yours is the way them two played.
Oh yeah, and birds of a feather. They're both drug
Hot
addicts.
together.
Yeah, it just the unfortunate thing is the birds that flock together were drug addicts with no money,
Yep.
and Christian met his demise because of that.
Yep.
he finally started opening his eyes, but for what was going on, he finally got enough of it. And that's what I told him before. When you get enough of whatever's going on, you'll finally put your foot down. Until then, she gonna do what she wants to do as long as you keep ignoring it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just so frustrating because we all see it now and we didn't even know Christian like you did and like his family did. So we're looking at this from the stranger point of view, and it's just so clear that the worst thing that ever walked into his life was Whitley Goodman.
Dylan's
Absolutely.
wagon.
He would still be here if it wasn't for her. And you know, people want to say that he killed himself because he got into a fight with his mom. Name one male on this planet that has killed themselves because they got into a fight with their mom. Oh,
None. Because they
it
None.
always
doesn't
go back
happen.
and talk to
It doesn't happen.
And if he was planning on doing it, he wouldn't have talked to her that morning. He would have just ignored her call.
them. Yep. I mean, every parent and child have their days and they
Yep.
have their issues with one another. There's a lot of things that my kids do that I don't agree with, but it's not my life.
Yep.
Yep.
I
Exactly.
can give, I can give my opinion all day long, whether you take it or not. That's your choice.
Mm-hmm.
Your call.
You know, I just had this conversation with my daughter. She's going to be 25 in May. And I said to her, I said, the minute you moved out of my house, she was almost 20 when she moved out. The minute you moved out of my house, my rules became your rules. Your rules became your life. And it doesn't affect me anymore. I love you. I'm going to lecture you when I think you do something stupid.
Yep.
I'm going to give you my advice when I think you need my advice, but your life is now your own. And
Yep.
I think that that's exactly how Ray felt too. I can't speak for Ray, but I can guarantee that she's a dang good mother, and she was annoyed by Christian's relationship with Whitley, rightfully so. She did what she could to welcome Whitley into her own home until Whitley crossed the line. And any mother is going to feel the exact same way that Ray did, given what we know about Whitley. But Ray wasn't trying to control Christian. She
Nope.
didn't pay his bills. She
Nope.
didn't, she didn't support him any further. He lived on his own. He had a job, he had vehicles. And of course, she's going to give her thoughts and feelings on the situation that he's in. Any mother would.
That's any parent.
But that's where it ended. And nobody is going to kill themselves over a mom not wanting a girlfriend around. Not going to happen.
No, they had 100% normal mother-son relationship. And
Right.
actually, I would say even a better mother-son relationship because they were close. They did do
Yes.
things together. And not all mothers and sons at those ages
Get to do
do
things.
that. Yeah. So, I mean, they had a great relationship, in my opinion.
My mom.
And you would know that too. I mean, I'm sure that there was times that Christian probably told you, I'm so frustrated with my mom.
Oh
What
yeah. They,
what
they have their ups and downs just like everybody else.
Yep.
right. And kids vent about their parents and parents vent about their kids. It is life 101, you know? That doesn't mean that he hates his mom. That doesn't mean that he has nothing but love for his mom. That doesn't mean that he's going to go take his own life because he was frustrated with his mom.
Nope.
Mhm.
This isn't Bates Motel here. We're not talking about the Swearingen family.
Or the Miller family.
Anyways, just send me my papers now. Go ahead and sue me. I'll wait.
Well,
Is there anything else you want us to know about Christian that you've never said before, or that you just want to make sure that everybody knows? Or this is your time to get as much out about Christian as you want, or not.
I will tell you, ladies, when we got off the boat in Wood River one time to go to Walmart, Christian doesn't meet a stranger. He's like me. He don't meet a stranger. It's like I knew you your whole life. uh, there's these young ladies in Walmart, and they followed him around like a lost puppy dog. And he ended it with their phone numbers. He said, "Mom," I said, don't." He said, "Mom," no, don't. I know what you fixing to ask me, and it ain't gonna happen. We're going back to the boat. But I got their number, and I told them I'd meet them out. I don't care what you told them. I'm telling you, we're going back to the boat because we're not gonna get in no trouble. I said, "Do you realize that them are high school girls?" No, they're not. Yes, the hell they are.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He pulled that on me a couple times.
Oh my goodness. You
And
know,
then when they would sooge the boat, which is wash the boat, because some people don't know what sooging is. During the summer, I don't know, he done something to pee me off, and he knew it'd pee me off. He done something other in a galley he wasn't supposed to. And I washed my little rear end up on second deck where they was at sieging. He said, "I know you ain't coming up here to mouth off at me." I said, "And you know I am." "Oh, squirt you with this water hose." I said, "You go right ahead because your ass going to get soaked just like me." Next thing I know, we in a water fight. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, you don't forget.
right. I love that you have that to hold on to too. Like I mean, we said this multiple times in this podcast. I say it to Ray. I am so thankful to have met the people that I've met because of Christian. Like he's brought strangers together and we have built this group of just good people. And I'm so thankful for it, but I wish I knew none of you because that would mean he was still alive and he
Yeah.
was still here with his family and the people that loved him
Just knew each other in a different way.
in a different way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even said it to Ray a couple nights ago. I said, I'm so thankful to know you and your family. Like, you guys have become family, but I wish I didn't. And she said, I wish I didn't know you guys either, And
Yeah.
so,
But they are, I mean, they're extended family to us.
I didn't get to talk to Ray until after all this started going down. And we still haven't got to meet one another. Because when she would
oh,
come to Vicksburg, I would be on the boat.
Mm.
I'm sure she would love to make that happen.
I would love to be able to sit down with her in just one evening.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
it's going to happen one day.
it will. You were meant to be in his life.
I'm
I'm
glad
certain
it
of
was.
that. My grandfather passed away a year ago on the same day that Christian passed away.
Wow.
And yeah, and I don't know why I didn't like put, well, because there was so much going on in my life at this time. Like it just hit me like a month ago. I was like, wait, the 26th, that's the day my papa died. Like what? And so like when it hit me, I was like, okay, wait. This isn't, because like you said, Christian didn't know a stranger. My grandpa didn't know a stranger. He was the type
Yeah.
that would walk into a store, and if he wouldn't had been married for 60 some years, he would have got their number too. And so like I just feel like we were all brought together for a bigger purpose. And whether you believe in a God or not, that doesn't matter. I feel like Christian brought us all together for a reason.
Yeah.
And I will never ever forget that. And I know that Susan, like, I'm sorry for speaking for you, Susan, but I know you won't either. And we've made such good friendships. Like, some of the friends that we have now will be our friends forever. She lives in North Carolina, I live in Oregon, you guys are in the South, and there's going to be a day that we will all be together and we will be rejoicing, and that day is going to be the day that there's justice for Christian.
That's
I
right.
just know it.
That's right.
There's
And it's
going to be
coming
arrests.
soon.
There's going to be people behind bars. There's going to be people held accountable for Christian's death. And that day is the day that we will all be together.
Well, I'm proud of Ray. I'm proud of the fight that she has put up. She's a hell of a woman and stronger than most I've ever met.
Hands down.
Absolutely. Yep.
Hands down. And we ask her, like, how do you do this? How do you just stay so strong? And she, her answer is solid. It's always I stay strong because I know the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
I know that my son didn't kill himself. I know that there's people responsible. And I know that that truth is going to come out, and she's human. She's human. She's angry. She has every right to be angry. Even at the very end of the day, at the very least, if Christian didn't get murdered, I don't believe that. Nobody believes that except for morons.
I've talked to more law enforcement around here. And I've even got friends on my Facebook page that have watched the stories or heard the pods or listened to a little bit of the 48 hours, whatever, and just flat more say that's bullshit. He didn't murder himself. He
No,
did not commit suicide.
no,
That was pure, downright murder.
Mm-hmm.
you can't. You can't explain away things like the gun being on the left, between the left thigh and the bathtub, pointed the wrong direction. You can't explain his hands being
Being,
where they were.
yeah.
You I mean, you can try to explain away all the other things, but there's just too many things that are inconsistent with suicide to make it possible.
Well, that's like the blood on the door, the blood down the stairwell.
Yeah,
Look,
magic blood.
and you ain't gonna make me believe that he was sitting on a commode and shot himself and it bounced off the wall and hopped over in a tube.
It not only would he have been, according to them, sitting and it bounced off the wall, went
You
back into the
don't
tub.
have enough room in between that wall to do this.
No,
And you're not gonna be able to get your hand back there where he was shot at. You don't have the room.
and how does the gun flip in the air, land between his thigh and the bathtub wall at the same time that his body is moving forward and leaning over a tub? It's not happening. It's not like the gun was on the ground between the tub and him. It was
Under his knee
suspended.
in the tube.
Yeah, suspended in the air, pointing to the right, with the barrel pointing to the right. Not possible.
Nope.
Not even Houdini could make that happen.
If he does, he's gonna be real rich.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. It really, really, really means a lot to us. And, we've never done a
I'm
podcast.
sorry that it took 7 years.
Yeah.
We went back and forth when we first heard Culpable. We went back and forth about even making a Facebook group because it just wasn't, we didn't want to cross any lines. And then it was very clear a few months after we made the Facebook group that Christian didn't kill himself, that this was murder. I mean, it was clear early on, but
Right.
like I have said in the group before, like, we never make any of our groups just strictly murder. Like, we always allow open discussion. But this
Right.
one, I remember the day even I went to Susan and I said, can we just make this group murder, please? please, I know we don't normally do it, but can we just call this one the murder of Christian Andreacchio and not allow any of the suicide stuff to come in? I'm sorry, I don't want it in there. And she was like, let's do it. And
Yeah.
so just for that was very hard for us to do because it goes outside of the normal groups that we do for true crime groups. And then we thought about doing a podcast, and 2020 was a horrendous year for everybody. And then she was like, let's do a podcast on Christian, but let's dig deep. And I was like, but it's already been done. She's like, but we're going to dig deeper. And I'm like, but it's already been done. You know, like kind of like, how can we make it different? How can we make this about Christian and pull apart everything that we've been fed? And so it's just been very important to us that we talk to people that have maybe been talked to, but a little bit deeper, or never been talked to before. And that's why we wanted people like Bear and Bobby, and we want Chelsea Garrett even. And I mean, I would pay millions of dollars for Jet to come on our podcast. Come on. Here, I'll do it right now. This is an open invitation, Jet. We want to talk to you. You know,
If
I
you
would
ain't
even,
got nothing to hide, why don't you speak?
yeah, this goes to Matt, to Whitley, to Dylan, to
All
Jet,
of 'em.
to Zach, all of them. Come on our show. Let's do
Yep.
this.
Yep.
You ain't
Open
gotta be
invitation.
You don't have to be a smart ass. Just
Nope. We'll give you an
say
open forum.
say what
Say what
happened.
you need to say. Yeah. Tell us what you want to tell us. We won't call you
So
out your
when
name.
she made that comment that she made on 48 hours, how'd she say that? I don't have to prove myself to anybody.
Yep.
The
Yes, you
hell
do.
you don't.
Yes, you do. Your boyfriend died on your watch. I'm sorry, but that was your watch. You knew he was suicidal, according to you.
Yeah.
Dylan did too. According to them, he was suicidal. He said so in text messages. He said so that day. Dylan took the gun away from him and hid it behind the curtains. So he died on your watch. You have 100% to defend.
I don't believe that happened.
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
None of
didn't.
that ever
none
took.
of none of that happened.
You need to
Nope.
make it in the door good.
But
Exactly.
if it did, according to them, it did happen. So, I mean, that's their story and they've stuck to it. So if that did happen, defend it. Defend why you gave the gun back to someone. They won't do it. Dylan has everybody else be his mouthpiece for him, because it's something that I bring up to all of them is, okay, at the very, very, very least of this, Dylan handed the gun back to somebody that just threatened suicide and then left and went to Best Buy. So defend that. Dylan won't defend it. Pam won't defend it.
Just like the text or whatever it was about he would kill her and himself.
And him. Yeah.
But yet when you go to tell this story, he was only gonna kill himself.
Right.
Well, why the hell would you give someone the gun back that was threatening to kill himself, and you're gonna leave him in an apartment with his girlfriend that he was supposed to gonna kill too?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep.
So you just left somebody that was going to kill himself with somebody else. You came back, you found him in the bathtub, and you call 911, and it's automatically a suicide.
Yeah.
I mean, the
I
stupidity.
want to know how many Xanax bars she freaking eat to be passed out as hard and cold out like she claimed she was. She had to eat a half damn bottle.
A whole month's worth.
Hmm.
But as soon as Dylan goes in and says, Whitley Christian's dead, she's awake.
Yeah. Live wire. Screaming to the top of her lungs.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Cheryl. It means a lot to us, Boat Mama. We will keep it under control in our group so you don't have to yell at us. We just love you. I think you're the greatest.
Oh, I appreciate y'all. I'm glad y'all hanging there with Miss Ray. And
Yes.
it's
We're not
it's
going
all
anywhere.
going to come to light.
Yeah. I make it known. I mean, Susan and I make it very well known in our group that they don't scare us and we're not going anywhere.
Yep.
We will be there in that group until the day we can change our group name to Justice Has Been Had for Christian Andreacchio.
Yep.
That's just like some of these other podcasts I tried to listen to, and then they go to talk. Oh my God, really, people, y'all have no clue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No clue. And I love the fact that Sheila, how you say her last name?
Wysocki.
Wysocki.
Yeah.
I'm glad she was a part of it.
Yeah. It's important to have people in your corner fighting for you. And Ray needs, Ray doesn't need us. And that's what I said the other day in a post that I made on Facebook. I said, we're not Ray's mouthpiece. She doesn't tell us what to do. She doesn't tell us what to say. She doesn't need us to. She's been very capable of it for the last 7 years. Right. But you are damn straight that we are in her corner and we are fighting for her. And we will continue to do it.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't need anybody. Ray Andreacchio doesn't need a dang person. She is one tough mother.